We got our SLI bridge, two 3090s. And a Paul's Hardware who suddenly thinks he can hop in the ring with Ali because he thinks he box. Let's talk about 3090 SLI for a second. So we've already talked about how this is the only card that supports SLI. Why, I don't know, but it still does, so we're gonna take advantage of it. We've got our SLI bridge, which is a Founders Edition looking bridge, which is really, really overbuilt, but hey, that's besides the point. It's a 4-slot spacing, which I requested specifically because these are 3-slot cards, or 2.75, and we don't want to squish them too close together and have them run too hot. We don't want to run them too hot. I think of the emoji with the clap in between each one. So the problem is, our test bench board only has 3-slot spacing between the full-length PCIe slots. And this board back here also only has that. And then the AMD board also only has that. So I'm having a bit of a conundrum. Do I use a riser cable? Like Paul has done, and I believe Steve has done, really janky setups, which is, we're no stranger to janky setups. I heard a rumor that the RTX 3090 apparently doesn't perform well on a flexible riser cable. I have not verified that, and the way to verify that is we would obviously run tests with it on the PCIe slot, connect it to a riser cable, compare the test, and if they're the same, or within a couple of percent, then you could deduce that that's probably fine. The other thing is these motherboards, because these are mainstream CPUs that don't have a crap ton of, this is a 10900K, don't have a crap ton of PCIe lanes, means all the second slots are 8x. Now the discussion has been whether or not PCIe 3 16x versus PCIe 4 16x is a benefit. So I don't think going down to PCIe 3 or PCIe 3 8x is a good move. But it seems like, I believe, when you're on mainstream platform anyway, if you put in 2 graphics cards because of the limitation of PCIe lanes, it puts them both to PCIe 3 8x anyway. So then we've got this guy. This is our Dominus Extreme. This has got the W3175X 28 core, 56 thread Intel CPU. This is what we used when we were doing our RipGen last time. Ice water and all that good stuff. Problem is, we're doing Port Royal for these tests. Port Royal, it sounds hard. Port Royal. Are you hail from Port Royal? The Dominus Extreme is a pretty extreme motherboard. The problem is, as you can see here, although it does have full 16x spacing, or slots here, these are basically server grade motherboards that are overclockable and stuff. It also uses 2 24-pin, 4 8-pin, and 2 6-pin, way more power than it actually needs. So I reached out to, because it just makes the setup cumbersome to have 3 power supplies, because you need 2 for the motherboard, and I'm gonna need 1 for these graphics cards. Each of these will be pulling more than 500 watts under load. So we're gonna be running a 1600 watt power supply for just these 2 graphics cards. And I don't wanna have to run another 2. I don't want 3 power supplies on the desk, okay? So I reached out to EVGA. This is their SR3 Dark. This is their version of the W3175X, whatever chipset it is, I can't remember. Oh, C622 chipset. And there's another reason why we kind of want to use this platform. And that's because we have a secret weapon. We got a few kits of Crucial's Extreme Speed 5100 megahertz extreme overclocking kits. Look at this. This is crazy. So we need six sticks of this, which they did send us. Comes with a little toothbrush. No,
it just sounds like it.
It's a little screwdriver, and the little bits are in here and stuff. It even comes with the Flash Lego guy. Look at that. You even get to put them together. He's all happy there. And then what is this? Oh, Strike Force original. It's energy gel. So you'd be like, when you need more power.
As you're installing your RAM.
Yeah. So we've got 3 of these kits that we'll be using here. So I'll put a link to the description below for these, the Crucial memories. Now these were limited edition with the whole box setup and stuff like this, but you can still get them in the loose packaging like that. So we got 6 sticks of that. And if we take a look at the motherboard here, which is really nice about the SR3, has a water block pre-installed for the power delivery. It's got the right angle adjustment like EVGA likes to do, so all the power is together and not running across the board. And then we've got 6 sticks. So instead of having 2 sticks per channel, we've just got 1 stick for each channel because it is a 6-channel motherboard. But look at the spacing. It's like pick your poison. Where do you want it to go? There we go. So check that out. So it does line up, right? So the first part of this video right now is going to be just getting a setup that works, because I need a setup that works. often ask me, Jay, how do you do Arnold? Well, it's all about the delta muscles. You have to like totally like flex them. Paul, no, you cannot do this to me. No, let's take a look at the, wait, where is the internet? So here's the 2x 3090 SLI leaderboard for Port Royal. You can see Paul threw his hat in the ring right there, 27,402. If you look on Twitter, he showed his progress as he was overclocking his cards. This is gonna be interesting. We took a very different approach to this. I'm of the mindset that allowing these cards to run on full 16x bus speed for Gen 3 is gonna be good for performance. When you run 2 cards on mainstream, especially 10900K or even 10 series at all, it's 16 PCI Express slots, or lanes. So if you go 2 cards, they drop to 8x Gen 3. We used the SR3 dark board from EVGA because of the fact that we can run both 16x slots mounted down like they're supposed to be without using janky solutions in our bridge, and everything is fine. It's also a much tidier, nice, neat package. Those guys are new to the jank. I was born in it. I was born in the jank. So before molded. So what we're gonna do real quick is we're gonna see where we land, because something else that we also did was we used the Crucial Ballistics Max memory, because we do know max memory speeds will help FPS as much as possible. So they were kind enough to send us these 6 sticks of their 5100 megahertz DIMMs. Now, unfortunately, the 3175X at the clocks that we're running right now, 5.1 gigahertz, talk more about the clocks in a sec. The memory controller at that speed, unfortunately, won't allow us to run 5100 megahertz on the memory. However, we are able to run 4200 megahertz and probably even higher, but I stopped it at 4200 megahertz. Don't want to put too much stress on the controller because we are pushing this CPU much, much higher than you would expect. Another thing that's nice about the Ballistics Max is the fact that it is using micron memory, which is basically binned memory. It's extremely high quality. It's like hand-picked. That's how they're able to get these like world record overclocks and stuff on the 5100 DIMMs. We felt it met our needs for the fact that we were able to go beyond where we wanted to. In previous tests, hitting 3800 or 4000 was difficult. Now the thing about Port Royal is it's not CPU intensive at all, but if your CPU is not able to handle the FPS that two 3090s is able to generate, then you're gonna start having issues. So we ended up teaming up with Crucial on both their NVMe SSDs, which are gaming grade. It's funny, a lot of people don't understand or even realize, I guess, that Crucial makes a lot of gaming grade stuff. We've featured a lot of their products in the past because they have really good entry points in terms of pricing. However, by them giving us their top of the line gaming grade stuff, we have way faster memory than we need, which is awesome because we have headroom in there. We also have 4 terabytes. Don't need 4 terabytes for this test, but we have 4 terabytes of their NVMe SSDs in here giving extremely fast system responsiveness and such. But because Crucial was willing to help us out with this and help sponsor this video, do me a favor, go into the description down below. You guys will find links to these products where you can check them out. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at their performance to price ratio and the value that you get there. So again, a huge thanks to Crucial for sending us these components to get this system up and running. They had initially sent us 4 sticks. I was like, guys, I hate to say it, but I need 2 more sticks because it uses 6 sticks here. You might have noticed from the B-roll till now, we changed out the CPU block back to our AlphaCool block. The big EK full metal block that we had is amazing. That's the same one that we used with our custom coil that we made for the cooler coil. The problem is it overhangs too far. And with the SR3 being a very bare bones, no extra channel, like not 2 sticks per channel, single stick per channel, and they wanted everything super close to the CPU so you could have the least amount of latency possible. The block overhangs, which interferes with the DIMMs, so we couldn't get our DIMMs in there. So we ended up putting it back onto the AlphaCool block, which is not as good of a block. So we've kind of found this area where it's like, okay, temp to parts, right? Okay, well, we're gonna be doing some adjusting here. So we also disabled 18 cores on this. It's a 28 core CPU. We disabled 18 cores and we're only running 10 cores with no hyperthreading. Now the reason why we stopped at 10 cores, because we kind of did a diminishing return. So yes, we already sort of know where our scores are gonna land based on our base test, because we started at all the cores, right, at stock speeds, and then pulled it down and I turned off hyperthreading first, then I started removing cores until we saw the test start to drop with it. And then we started adding back 2 cores at a time until it no longer started going up. That's how we came to the fact that 10 core, no hyperthreading at 5.1 was the best solution we could do with this CPU. Now, believe it or not, it still runs pretty hot. It'll still spike 90C on certain cores under that workload because it's still getting 1.35 volts, which doesn't seem like a lot, but the efficiency of Skylake versus 10th gen, it's old, you need cold solutions for it. And right now, just regular ambient air on a radiator is the only thing we can do to get it running normally. Like we could not run a CPU test at this right now. It would melt and probably shut down. Paul thinks he can hook up the AC and just join the AC battle. No, we're gonna have to show Paul who's the AC king around here. So afterburner settings are just core voltage 100%. That again doesn't do a whole lot. In fact, I'll leave it at 0, screw it. Power limit 102, again, that doesn't really do anything. 2% is not change a damn thing. And then everything else here is stock, and then 100% on the fans. These cards get toasty when they are stuck that close together, and they're basically two little space heaters. So let's go ahead and just run Port Royal. Let's see where we land, and we'll see where we end. That's more important. So we might have just hurt ourselves because between trying to run the test and now, we've run into a bunch of stability problems at 5.1, where I was running it at 5.1, no problems for a while. I think I might have just used up all my 5.1 luck. So we had to drop it down to 5.0. It finished the test, but then it crashed like while loading the page to show us the score. So I'm starting to think I made the wrong choice by going with this platform and not just sticking with mainstream platform. All right. Oof. 25,790. That's bad. Because we were over 26,000 before with 5.1. So I'm just going max voltage. I'm gonna go plus 100 on the core. I'm gonna go plus 650 on the memory, because that's where we know our FE kind of landed. Let's see what that does to our score. Oh, I'm getting so frustrated now because we're at 26,290. That's less than we were getting with both of these cards at 5.1 when they were stock. Anyway, back with the janky stuff. I'm truly curious as to if we're gonna beat our old score on this CPU, because we're running 5.2 on this one. I honestly think core clock is king, and this is a better CPU in terms of core clock. I don't know what to believe anymore. I'm only mad because we saw twice 26,200 without really doing anything on the other platform. So it's almost like there's some sort of credence to my Clearwater revival. No, that gives credence to my theory anyway. That maybe, like in a perfect scenario, if we could get that other CPU with its 2 times Gen 3 16X at 5.1, then it carries a little bit. All right, not bad. So it's only a plus 100 on the core, plus 650 on the memory. No chilling or cooling of the CPU other than that mess. It's also important to note that I did crank the voltage really high on the CPU, so I can't do anything that needs true CPU performance, like that truck driving down the alley. And it's running at 5.3. Hyperthreading is off, which helped us bring up the lift. And then 26,483 with a plus 100, plus 650. So that's enough to beat Steve. It's not anywhere near Paul's score yet. He's just over 27,000, but I think we're gonna get there today. It crashed. That should be no surprise to anybody. Anyway.
Oh my God, the cards!
Did I hit the card? Oh no. Stay. Got this. We went down. This is nerve-wracking. This setup is not working. The whole riser card thing. So I stepped away from this for a few hours, just thinking about it. Some of you have probably figured it out already. We had the air blowing right on these cards, right through the card and through the rest of the system and out the back here. And I was doing a lot of taping off here to control where the air went. But then I remembered, and I'm glad I stepped away from this because I was getting pretty frustrated. I'm like, man, this was supposed to be teach Paul a lesson, stay in your lane. But this turned into, Jay, you're bad at this. I used to stick my head out the window as a kid of the car. And I remembered how weird it was to turn my head sideways and then have the air like blowing across you and then realize I can't breathe in. The air that's stationary, like in your mouth, and the air that's moving really fast outside of it creates a vacuum, and then the air goes out. I think what was happening here is I was blowing air through the cards, through the face of the card so fast, these little fans could not overcome the air flow coming out of the AC. So the air was all just blowing right past the fans, and the fans couldn't pull the air in. It's like the cold air is like, and the fans are like, hey. And then that's why we were seeing 74C with the AC on. What was that, 13C hotter than we just had them on air? And I think that's because of the direction of the fans. So what we're gonna do right now, because I even texted Phil when I was at the gym, or right before the gym, I said, I think we gotta go back to the 3175X, just because I could mount them, right? But then I don't think that's right. Yeah, we're back to where we started. So we're back on the dark SR3, or the SR3 dark board, with that 3175X running 10 cores, no hyper-threading at 5 gigahertz. And this is the score we got, a 27,207. I have not uploaded that yet because considering I haven't even tried to start doing any of the overclocking, I haven't even built the shroud for it yet, the CPU or the GPU got hotter than I expected it or wanted it to because of the simple fact that there's no air shroud forcing the air through the cards, which is what we want. Because remember, we've showed in the past only a few degrees can make a big difference between stability. So what we want is to keep the cards as cold as possible so they can maintain a better boost clock as long as possible. That's what we're fighting here, not max overclock. It's how long can we maintain the clocks. So now that you can see that we're back on this, I'm gonna build a new shroud. I already saved this score. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go for it right now and see if we can beat Paul. We're only about 200 points behind him, and I think that's gonna be somewhat easy given the fact that I know I have temperature headroom. CPU temps never got above the 40s. The radiator fan blower air making her happener. I flipped it to the other side so the cold air is being pulled through the rad. Before it was going against it, which is really dumb. So now we're getting a lot better cooling on our CPU. You see our cores are in the 20s at 5 gigahertz. Our GPU temps, that's what I care about most, 51C and 35. Well, no, it's really good because that matches what our EVGA card was doing as a single card with the AC on it. So let's take a look at the 3D Mark Hall of Fame. Paul's score is a 27,402. So we beat Paul already. And it's funny, it took 2 runs once I got the flow sort of figured out. And I think we have more available to us here. Paul and I really should land around the same spot because of the fact that we have the same cards. And the problem with these MSI cards, unfortunately, is they don't give us enough power limit. We need more power limit. They are hard limited. So what we're fighting right now with the temperatures is trying to get the average core clock up. And we just crashed. As is the case, sometimes it just starts crashing at speeds that it was already fine at. And it just continues to crash. What we're finding is the card doesn't want to activation needed. Windows is not activated on this device because we switched it back and forth too many times.
Yeah.
Anyway, so here's our best score so far. We'll go ahead and upload it. It's a 27,431, which is barely enough to beat Paul, but considering his video went live today, I haven't watched the video. I assume he is probably showing exactly how excited he was to be a participating member of the Elite Overclocking Club. And it's just happy to get his name on the board. I'm happy to drop him down a peg as fast as I can. So here we go. Let's go ahead and compare results online. Let's go ahead and bump him from number 3 down off the podium where he belongs. But you know what, as I started to say, the temperatures and stuff are the problem. And obviously this is the second or third time we've done AC like this, and every single time we start here because it's a fun place to start and do this leapfrogging up to the leaderboard, which is why I'm gonna go ahead and do the EVGA card on a water block.
That's only one card, dude.
Well, fortunately for us, we got another one. So we're gonna unlock the full potential of kicking Paul and Steve's ass. No!